Good evening and welcome to the Billy Wilder Theater, home of public programs for the UCLA Film and Television Archive. My name is Mark Quigley and I'm the John H. Mitchell Television Curator for the Archive. Thank you for coming. Before we begin, as a land-grant institution, the Film and Television Archive at UCLA would like to acknowledge our presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Gabrielino and Tongva people. We are humbled to do work in this community. Thank you for coming to Psychedelic TV, musical variety in the age of Aquarius. We have legends in the house with us tonight. This event was made possible thanks to the critical support of the John H. Mitchell Television Endowments, and admission tonight is free thanks to a generous donor who has made archive screenings at the Wilder free through the end of the year. Special thanks also to Retro Video, Bill DeSico, Ian Marshall, Dan Einstein, Margot Preck Special, Bobby Williams, Miles Robinson, Steve Rosenblum, Randy Yantek, and our co-sponsor of tonight's screening, UCLA's Music Library. Please give them all a big round of applause. Tonight, we pay tribute to the one and only Fifth Dimension. One of the most beloved musical groups of the psychedelic era and well beyond. Among just a fraction of their many honors, the Fifth Dimension has earned 4 gold records, 6 platinum records, 6 Grammy Awards, and is in the Grammy Hall of Fame. The group's 5 #1 records have left an indelible stamp on pop culture and American music, including the iconic hits Up, Up, and Away and Aquarius, Let the Sunshine In. Last year, the group was prominently featured in Questlove's Academy Award-winning documentary, Summer of Soul, which highlighted the group's electric performance at the 1969 Harlem Cultural Festival. And tonight, we are extremely honored to have 3 original members of this phenomenally talented group with us. Please give the warmest welcome possible to legends Billy Davis Jr., Florence LaRue, and Marilyn McCoo. For tonight, we are just very fortunate to have them with us on our Billy Wilder stage. So following the screening of the Fifth Dimension special, In the Cosmic Universe by Peter Max, our esteemed guests will join Dr. Cheryl Keyes, Professor of Music, Ethnomusicology, and Global Jazz Studies, and Chair of African American Studies at UCLA for a Q&A. A noted musician, we were listening to her when you walked in, a noted musician and author, among Dr. Keyes' many acclaimed works is her award-winning book, Rap Music and Street Consciousness. Thank you, Dr. Keyes, for joining us. After the Q&A, we will screen the mind-bending H. Andrew Williams Kaleidoscope Company special from '68, which features chart topper Andy Williams in a Nehru collar suit, and icons Ray Charles, Mama Cass Elliot, Simon and Garfunkel, and many more. So be sure to stick around after the Q&A. I do need to note that these television specials are presented as they originally aired, and they do reflect the period in which they were made, good and bad. While there is much peace and love in these programs, there are sections that are going to illuminate the biases and prejudices of the time. We acknowledge these offensive moments, which were wrong at the time, they were created and they're wrong now. These unedited archival programs are offered here to be enjoyed where appropriate and learned from where not. A few quick final notes. The Hammer Museum still requires mask wearing indoors, so please remember to keep your masks on and your phones off. Lastly, TV fans, please come back here on November 19th for our special program, Lost African American TV, Robert L. Goodwin's The Upper Chamber, which is an extraordinary, independently produced television drama that you do not want to miss. So please go to our website for more details. And now, without further delay, let's enjoy a flashback-inducing screening with the one and only Fifth Dimension. And like the best trip possible, they're going to magically appear on the stage when the program is over. So thanks for coming. Please welcome to the stage original members of the Fifth Dimension, Florence LaRue, Billy Davis Jr., and UCLA alum, Marilyn McCoo. And please welcome our moderator, Professor Cheryl Keys. Thank you so much. It's so good.
Come on. Yeah. She's probably going to sit over there.
Where are you going to sit?
Where are you going to sit?
Wherever you want to go.
We're back in the film.
Oh, my goodness. I want you to know that I wasn't fat, I was pregnant.
That's right. That's right. You were
Yeah.
pregnant when we did
I
that.
was pregnant with Chopper, yeah.
Wow. What an experience. What an experience. What an experience.
You know, it's fun watching that stuff over again, you know? You don't know how crazy you were when you see all this stuff, you know?
Well, what ran through my
I
mind.
was nuts.
I tell you. But what ran through my mind, you know, I have to kind of go off script. Just looking at that, and here again, I must say, I acknowledge them as my heroes, as I remember very well growing up in Louisiana, and I know all of your music. It was amazing that when Mark Quigley asked me to moderate, and he was asking me about these different songs, I said, I know them all. I know them all, because they became the messages, and they really, you know, set the tone for positivity. And I must say thank you so much. Wow. It's an honor to be sitting up here. It's an honor. Well, I'd like to start off by asking the question, what was it like to do special, the Fifth Dimension special? How did that come about?
Well, actually, I think it was probably the genius of our manager, Mark Gordon, who never really got the notoriety that he should have, because I believe that because of Mark Gordon, there was a Fifth Dimension, because at that time, Motown music was very popular, and in our rehearsals, we were singing mostly R&B, and Mark came up with a brilliant idea of us singing music that wasn't expected of a black group. And he introduced us to Jimmy Webb, and he wanted us to be the Black Beatles. He wanted us to be something different.
Well, how long did you all practice? I heard those beautiful
All the
voices.
time.
We practiced more than any time. We were in rehearsals when we didn't even want to be in rehearsals, you know. We were there because we enjoyed what we were doing so much. And we just love making music, you know.
And we always wanted to make sure that those notes were correct. And hearing those songs tonight, I feel so proud of the work that we did.
Yeah.
Amen.
You know, when you listen to those harmonies and I mean, if we didn't hit those notes correctly, we were right back at the piano again.
Over and over. There was one song, I forget which one it was, but we must have sung that song for 12 hours. I mean, it was really, and I had a problem. As a matter of fact, I didn't really want to be in the group when I joined, because I didn't. What happened was I won a talent contest, and Lamont came and said, you know, we need another girl for this group that I'm putting together. I said, well, first of all, I'm not a singer. I'm an actress, and I want to go to Hollywood, and I'm also getting my degree in education, and I want to teach. And so our manager said, well, look, you got to come to rehearsal. I said, I don't have time. I'm working full time. But thank God, you know, that they allowed me to come and to miss some rehearsals, and the rest was history.
Wow. Well, tell us, how did you all get started? Where are you from? Give us a little bit of your background.
Well, believe it or not, all three of the guys are from St. Louis, Missouri. A lot of people think this is made up, but it's not. We all knew each other when we were kids. We were in band together, German bugle corps, but we all migrated to California at different times. And what happened is that I was the last one to come out, and and Lamont and Marilyn had sung with a group called the Vocals, right?
Right. Lamont was always putting together groups. And
That's the photographer.
yes, yes, the tall fellow, the tall one in the group. And he was always putting together groups. And I loved harmonies. And Lamont invited me to be part of one of the mini groups that he had put together. And I enjoyed singing harmonies, and I thought, well, this would be a wonderful way to stay around music, because I wanted to be a singer, and that was my passion. And but I did enjoy the harmonies. And so we would get together, and I remember when Florence came and auditioned to be in the group, and there was another woman in the group who she was a good friend of mine, and I thought she was, and so I thought, well, you know, we do need another singer though, because as good a friend as she was, she couldn't sing. And when
She wasn't cutting it, no.
And when Florence came and sang that evening, and she came and she said, well, I'll come and see, what you all are doing. And she sang, and I thought, well, there goes my friend. Because there was just no comparison. And so let's see. Now, so Lamont and Billy and Ronald were all from St. Louis, and then Lamont found you. How did you and Lamont get together? Because it was the
Miss Bronze
California pageant. Right.
And I think he would have chosen whoever won the contest, because let me tell you, there were ladies in there who could sing circles around me. But I happened to win the contest, and he asked me to join this group. I said, no, first of all, I'm not a singer. I just sang because they said I had to do something. And that's
But you
know what, though?
She had the talent, and
Yeah.
it worked
I
great.
was really intimidated by Marilyn.
Oh,
But
I
you know
mean,
what,
this
though?
girl could sing, and I was like, oh, no.
But
I
when
guess I
your voice-
better learn how to sing. And I started taking voice lessons.
But when your voice came into the group, it was perfect.
It fit, yes.
The five voices fit together. There have been our ranger have been asked to put together a group that sounded like the Fifth Dimension, and they paid him good money to put that group together. And he told him, he said, I can put the group together and I'll take your money. He said, but if you don't have the same voices, it's not going to sound like the Fifth Dimension.
But I must say it was more than our sound, because we really are a family. And in watching this, I really miss Ron.
I know. It was so nice to see
I know,
Ron.
yeah.
Ron was Ron and I were like brother and sister. If we fought, he would say, well, if you were my wife, you wouldn't be wearing those short skirts. And I'd say, well, that's why I'm not your wife. But he was the sweetest man. I mean, just like a gentle giant.
Yeah, we called him Sweets
Yeah.
because he ate a lot of
That's
candy.
because he liked candy.
So he's passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he passed away.
Ron-
And
Ron
that's
is the
another
one
reason
member
why
that's
they
gone.
can't
Yes.
duplicate the Fifth Dimension, because even though Marilyn and Billy and I, even though we're not singing together, we're family, and we always will be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And watching the special tonight, I'm so proud of that special. And when we were contacted by Mark, who was telling, who said that they wanted to show the Fifth Dimension in the, I can never remember the total title of but in the world of Peter Max. We hadn't looked at that in years. Billy and I went on to when we went and watched the special again.
Oh, on YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube, yes. And we sat up there and watched it, and we said, "Oh my gosh, we had forgotten how well that project came together, and the songs and the harmonies again, and just it was very emotional once again tonight to watch it.
You know what? You know
Because we're
what
so
though?
proud of the work that was done by
You know what I
everybody.
loved about the special was Glenn Campbell.
Yes.
You know, Glenn is so talented. You know, and he was doing all these little crazy parts. You know, another good time Glenn, and you know, And Glenn he's just one of those kind of guys that's got, he can play bagpipes, he can play guitar. He was just so talented and had a beautiful voice, you know. And I used to go and try to watch him as much as I could because he was a friend, you know. And just to see him, and I remember when Glenn was having problems, and I remember him saying to his daughter, I think it was his daughter, he said, well, don't worry about me, I ain't done yet.
That's right.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what was it like working with Ed Sullivan, Peter Max, and Artie, the comedian, Artie, what's the comedian?
Artie Johnson.
Johnson, yeah. And Flip Wilson, of course.
Flip's
was
nuts.
Totally crazy. They put together some of the most talented people to make that special happen. One thing that was really, I feel like a beautiful example of what can happen when you bring people together. We were, you know, at that time in our country, to see a special like that put together with so much talent and such a mixture. I mean, we had black people, we had white people, we had, I mean, it was just all of us friends working together, enjoying one another, respecting one another's talent. And it's such a beautiful thing to see when we can put it all together and create just some amazing moments. And to me, that special really showed what can happen.
Boo, you know what brings me to tears in that special?
What's that?
Is I know I've been here before. When you do the thing with the kids,
With the children, that was so beautiful.
Oh man,
That
it's
was
just so beautiful.
Thank you. And
To
now
see the-
here I sit at 80 years old, looking back at it.
Wow. Wow. Beautiful.
I think another reason Fifth Dimension was so popular is because our music was positive, and it brought hope. Like people ask us about Aquarius, they go into the astrology. We weren't into astrology. We heard a song that spoke of hope and a future of good times, and as Marilyn said, people coming together in love.
Yes.
And I'm glad you brought up Aquarius because I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to watch the Questlove's award-winning, well, they'll be the award-winning Questlove now, I can say, the Summer of Soul.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to hear how Aquarius became a part of your repertoire. So for those who didn't see it, but it's just wonderful to hear it once more.
Well, I must say, Billy can probably
Yes.
can tell you a story about how that really came about.
You want to tell them the story about how we found Aquarius,
Well,
baby?
Y'all got the hour? No. No, well, we were performing in New York at the Royal Box at the Americana Hotel. We performed there every year for the what is it? School.
When it was during the time of
the prom.
prom season.
Prom season.
And they would come and
And
see
so
our show.
I went shopping, and make a long story short, I lost my wallet and it dropped in a cab. So a guy gets in the cab behind it, picks up my wallet. I come upstairs, I'm looking for my wallet. I told Marilyn, I said, babe, I lost my wallet. Marilyn said, oh, Lord, you in New York, you ain't gonna never see that wallet no more. I said, oh, okay. About a half hour later, the
Miss
phone
Hope.
rang. The phone rang, and the guy said, is this Billy Davis Jr.? I said, yes. He said, well, I got your wallet. I said, wow, this is beautiful. Where are you at? So I found him. I went over to his house. I offered him some money. He didn't take it. So what I did, I invited him over to the Americana to see the group, him and his wife. And so he took us up on that. And so after the show, he came backstage. He said, man, you guys are beautiful. He said, well, since you were so nice, Billy, I'd like to invite you to our show. I'm doing, who is this guy? Come to find out, he was one of the producers of Hair, which is where we got Aquarius from. He was one of the producers. Now, we had been trying to go see Hair for the longest because everybody, I mean, it was sold out. It was the biggest Broadway production at that particular time. And what happened is that, I mean, lines were around the corner. It was one of those productions, first time they ever seen people get naked on stage, you know. Everybody wanted to see it, well, you know. We did too.
Not me.
So not you, yeah, I know. But anyway, so
Yeah, right.
so we went in and we saw hair, and there was a kid by the name of Ronnie Dyson who just stood up and took off on When the Moon. And I mean, the whole auditorium just shook. His beautiful tenor voice. And we all got together. We came out to into the
Intermission.
during the intermission. We said, we have to do that song. We have to do that song. And we called our producer. And our producer said, this song's been done a lot of times. I don't think you know. Say, well, no, the Fifth Dimension haven't done it, you know. So give us a chance, you know. So it ended up being one of the biggest record we ever had.
Yeah, then he came back to us and said, let's put it with Let the Sun Shine.
Yeah.
In.
Right.
Yeah.
Make it different.
And that made it all really work. And then when we were in the studio and we were singing "Let the Sun Shine," and the Bones said to Billy, "Okay, Billy, now take it to church."
Yeah.
So, taking us to church, are you from a family of ministers or preachers, or that gospel sound that
Well, I grew up in church, you know, and I didn't want to be, but I am a preacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the interesting
today,
thing,
yeah.
the interesting thing now is when we sing "Let the Sun Shine In," it's for me. It's not let the SUN shine, but also let the SON shine.
Yeah, right.
Amen.
Amen. I want to go back to first of all, speaking of your being together so long, and you can just feel the energy of a group where there weren't any egos. You can tell that, and that's why it works so beautifully. The spirit of what we witness in the Peter Max and Ed Sullivan production of the Fifth Dimension show. But I also would like to ask a little bit about the voice. I want to go back to the voice because when I teach class in African American music, I always talk about the vocastration. That's something that my former professor would always say, the vocastration. So speaking of five voices, lay out who's the soprano, the alto, the tenor, the bass. Who did what? Or were you all? How did you get that sound, if I might ask?
Well, actually, we kind of switched it around. I think Marilyn would sing soprano on top. Sometimes Florence would sing on top.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd switch around. I'm a tenor, and Ronald was a tenor, and Lamont was a baritone bass.
Yeah, that was a beautiful song that Ronald did.
Out here in the stars, lost out here in the
beautiful. It was really beautiful, and such a varied voice. You know, and I guess it's the beautiful thing I liked about the Fifth Dimensions, and sometimes often the stereotype that you all mention this even in the Summer of Soul about that some of folks thought that you were not black. So I'd like to kind of talk about that and just kind of clarify what exactly is black music, or is it a such thing as black music, and why do you feel that you were perhaps stereotyped as not really being a part of the black music experience? But you proved us wrong. But let's see how you felt. When you
I think a lot of that had to do with the sound of people who come from the church.
Yeah.
And gospel music is in many ways associated with the black sound. And interestingly enough, I was always told that I didn't have a black sound. And so I did not grow up in the church, and I've learned through the years how to try to use more of the gospel influence in my sound, especially for certain songs. You know, you hear something that you want to accomplish based on the type of song it is, but some people come from the church, as Billy did, and some of us didn't, as I didn't. But
As a matter of fact, I used to feel bad because, like Marilyn, I didn't have what they considered a black sound. And I remember once that we put a song in the show, I'm Coming Home. It was Felipe. I forget the name of the group.
from the Spinners.
From
yes,
the Spinners.
Oh, yeah.
So I sang it and I tried to sound like him. It was the worst thing you have ever heard. And one day I heard Johnny Mathis singing the same song, and it was great. But he sounded like Johnny Mathis, and that's when the Lord said to me, there's one Aretha Franklin, there's one Florence LaRue. You do what you do best.
Right,
And
exactly.
even today, when I see people, when they say the Fifth Dimension, the R&B group, we are not an R&B group because because of the voices we had, our show was very eclectic. We could do all types. We even did Vesta LaJew from Pagliacci. But our recordings were more what they called pop. But our show was very well, and still is, very well-rounded with all types of music. And I don't try to sound like Aretha anymore.
Well, I tell you, you said about black music. I don't think there is such a thing, because us as people, we like to categorize ourselves, We like to put ourselves in, well, this is this and this is that. This is R&B and this is so on. Music is music. It's whatever you like to sing. There's black people that sing country music. There's black people who sing opera. There's black people who sing classical.
And there are white people
There's
who rap.
white people that sing R&B. I mean, and so it's us who put ourselves in those categories. But there's no black music. There's no white music. There is music.
And I think it's important to work on the sound that you have as an artist, and work to be the best that you can be in with whatever it is that you do. And like they were saying that don't try to sound like somebody else. Be the best you can be.
And speaking of best songwriters, who were some of your favorite songwriters, and how did you go about choosing the songs? Because I always remember a particular song. What good of a song if it ain't good enough to sing, and if it ain't got no message? So how did you choose your songs and some of your songwriters?
Well, of course, we were very, very blessed to meet early in our careers a young man by the name of Jimmy Webb.
Yes.
And Jimmy Webb was writing music at Motown. And he was hoping to get a hit song at Motown. Now, our manager, Mark Gordon, knew Jimmy because Mark was running the Los Angeles branch of Motown here in Los Angeles. And Jimmy came out and played some of his songs for Mark, and Mark knew that he was a very good songwriter, but they hadn't found the right direction for him. In the meantime, Mark introduced. We met Jimmy Webb through our manager, Mark Gordon, and that was how we ended up with "Up, Up and Away."
Beautiful song.
Yes, and so that's the way that happened for us, and that was one of the reasons, again, why a lot of times people said that the Fifth Dimension did not have a black sound. That they felt that "Up, Up and Away," which became our first huge hit, didn't sound like it could be black voices. And so when they saw pictures of us, they were very surprised. Now, at the time, the radio was very, very categorized, and back in the 60s, yes, right. And so when we were heard, they did not play "Up, Up and Away" on the R&B stations because they said it wasn't R&B enough. So they did play it on the pop stations because it had a pop sound. But they were shocked when they found out that the group that was making that sound was a black group.
And also our arranger, Bones Howe, our producer rather, brought us a lot of songs that we never would have heard. So, Laura Nero material, things like that. We wouldn't have heard that music, but he brought us songs that were just out of our genre.
But I like to give a lot of credit to our arranger, which is his name was Bob Alcivar, and this man could arrange. My God, this guy he could arrange. Yeah, take me out to the ball game and make it sound great. He knew he had 5 voices to work with, and he just sometimes he would take us 2 or 3 different ways, and it's just what he heard in his head is just. He was the one that was offered the money to put together another Fifth Dimension. But, his name is Bob Alcivar.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Alcivar's from L.A. or what?
Yes. Bob
Yes.
lived here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he lived here.
And what about your musical arrangers? Because I enjoyed just listening to the musical directors or the musical arrangements in the Fifth Dimension special.
Well, we were again blessed to have working with us a man by the name of Rene DeKnight. And Rene DeKnight was a vocal arranger. He worked with a group called the Delta Rhythm Boys, who
years ago.
That was back in the 40s and the 50s and
in the 1800s. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding.
But Rene heard all kinds of wonderful arrangements, and he was constantly coming in and bringing new songs and new approaches for us for our live shows. Mm-hmm. And so we were always doing interesting things in our live shows. Rene came up with an idea when what was her name? Ode to Billy Joe. Bobby Gentry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rene came up with an idea. He realized that there were 5 characters in that story.
Yeah.
And so he came up with the idea of all of us telling the story as characters of the song. And it was a very popular performance that we did in our show. And Rene also, you see him, he's conducting the band there.
Aquarius.
Yes.
But Rene also, he taught us much more than just singing. He was, I guess, in his 50s. We were young, so we thought he was old. But we learned so much from him. We learned about taking care of yourself on the road, because we used to laugh at him because he'd eat organic and stand on his head, do all these silly things. And now I'm doing exactly what Rene did. But he taught us about the performing end of it. We were blessed to surround ourselves with the best, because you don't know everything, so you have to surround yourself with people who know and from whom you can learn.
That's right.
And one more thing about Rene. Rene taught us about taking care of business. He said, if you want to be in this business, you've got to do the best. You've got to go be the best. When you come in and you're ready to perform or you're ready to do a job, know your stuff. He said, because these people do not have time to have you fooling around out there, and they're spending their money, and when you come in to do a job, they want you to do the best job. I think that was one of the reasons why things worked so well for the group with Ed Sullivan. Ed Sullivan had
He just fell in love with the group.
He really did.
Yeah.
I think that's how the wonderful opportunity came along for us to do this special with Ed Sullivan Productions. And Ed Sullivan, it was his production company and his son-in-law, who was the producer of the special. Can you imagine? Ed Sullivan did a moment in our special
cameo, right.
Yes,
right.
as the wizard. It was.
But the fun part was when he said, "And drive careful." If we in the cosmic field, he's talking about driving. Yeah, okay.
His sarcasm.
So we were blessed in so many wonderful ways. Like you said, we were surrounded with incredible
good people.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, when Marilyn and I were talking, we mentioned our outfits. The Peter Max artwork really went well with our outfits, although he did not design it. Those were designed by Boyd Clopton, and they went very well with the Peter Max colors.
Yes, yes. Well, I have to say, I'm not trying to be vain here. I said, you know, what should I wear tonight? I think this is the most psychedelic thing I have. And none of you are wearing it. I feel bad. Anyway.
And it works very well.
Oh, thank you. It's kind of you. Well, at this time, we can just entertain probably about 1 or 2 questions from the audience. And I saw that hand go up right in the back. Now he has a, wait a minute, wait, you're a little ahead of it. Right there. Okay, sure.
We can hear you even without it.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I was going to ask Joey Heatherton, who's probably very forgotten by, and many people might not remember who she was. What was it like to work with her on the special?
Joy Heatherton, she was a professional dancer.
Yes.
She was a pro.
Yes.
I mean, everything that we did, I mean, that every skit that she was in,
She
she
gave it
just
her
gave
all.
it her all.
Yes.
She was there. Yeah, she's good.
She was a wonderful dancer.
Yeah.
And we were just so proud to have her as part of the production. And she like Billy said, she gave it her all.
Yeah.
And the woman here? Sure.
Was it for CBS because of that song?
Yes,
Yes.
it was CBS.
It's CBS.
And Glenn Campbell's series was on CBS. And Jim Neighbors, every time he was saying, golly, what happened to my show tonight? He was on CBS.
Right.
Yes.
I'm a really big fan of just the outfits and art direction in general of the group. So I wanted to ask, did you work with what the team was like, or conceptualizing the art direction aspect of it?
Well, as we mentioned, Boyd Clopton designed our outfits, and he was very wise to design the outfits to fit the bodies. For instance, Lamont was tall and thin, Ron was rounder. He wanted everyone to look their best, so he didn't. They weren't like copycat designs for each person.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he did. I mean, he would come up with these sketches all the time. We would go in and look at the sketches and say, hey, we like this, we don't like that. Yeah.
And also, there was the psychedelic influence that was happening at that time, which Peter Max had a lot to do with. But then again, Boyd Clopton had his own vision and design and ideas. The thing that was so beautiful about the special was that all of those elements, all of those creative elements came together, and we were it was amazing how the wardrobe and the set design and all of those creative ideas came together, and it looked like it was done by one person, but there were a number of people who put it together. Yeah.
And we'll take one more. Did I come over here? Any hands over here? Okay, I'll go here. One more question, please.
So much. And Marilyn, I loved Solid Gold so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I'm a family member of Dorothea Joyce, who composed
yes.
Love's
Dorothea
Lines.
Joyce,
Love's
yeah.
Lines, Angles, and Rhymes.
Is there anything you could share with your fans about encountering that song and recording it?
Well, I remember when the first time I heard Love's Lines, Angles, and Rhymes, I loved the song. I said, I'm not quite sure what it's about, but to me, it expressed the turmoil of love and the pain and the confusion. And I just thought that her lyrics were so interesting. And I fell in love with the song, and I always considered it a challenge. But I was very happy with the way it turned out. Thank you.
Well, I haven't gotten the red light yet, so I'm going to go here.
The time of the 60s and the 70s artistically, did you get involved in politics at all? Politically, did you protest, or were you basically involved in your art only?
Well, we didn't. We didn't get too involved in politics. We would, if it was something that we were interested in, like if we were invited to do like a convention, a Democratic convention. In fact, we did in Chicago when they had the major riot in '68, and we were working at the Auditorium Theater. We were supposed to perform there, and somebody threw a stink bomb in the theater at that particular time, so everybody had to get out. And when we got out and walked on the street, we seen blue helmets and people getting beat on the head, and it was like, oh my God, what's going on out here, you know? And that was the riot of '68 in Chicago during the Democratic Convention.
I think we let our music speak for us. We try to create an atmosphere of love and people coming together. One thing I remember that the Fifth Dimension did, we went to Eastern Europe on a State Department sponsored tour, and at the time it was communist. And I remember specifically that backstage there were armed guards with dogs to make sure that there would be no riots, and they ended up asking for autographs. And at the end of our show, we were terrified because the audience rushed the stage, but they wanted to touch us because we were their touch to peace and to freedom. It was very moving. Music is very, very special and very powerful. We have a responsibility in our lyrics and in everything that we do with our music because it is very powerful and it can bring people together.
Another thing was that we stayed away from getting involved in politics because everybody in the group didn't agree.
Politics and religion.
Yes,
we didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we decided that we would not allow that to start, tearing the group apart. We agreed about the music, and we kept it that way.
And on that note, this has been a wonderful experience for me, for the audience. Let's give it up for Florence LaRue, Reverend Billy Davis, and Madame Marilyn McCoo. Thank you.
Thank you all so very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.